Okay, moving on to the next video. Over here, we wish to include an additional device, which would be a router. We're going to get the most basic router, and we're going to connect it. Now, this is a layer 3 device, pretty much such as these guys, and Switch doesn't need any IP addresses because it can't see them. It can only see MAC addresses, but this one can see IP addresses, so we need to configure an IP address onto this port. However, it's not as easy as like on a computer. So, how do we do that? Well, very simple. First thing, let's connect everything, and these guys are 2 different devices, so we're going to get a straight-through cable, and usually the rule is we put the router on the last switch port. So from here, from 0, 0, I'm simply going to go on to port 24. Now, this is address 192.168.1.1. This is 1.2, this is 1.3, and I named them that way simply because this is 1, this is 2, and this is 3. Now this is the last one, so I'm going to put it as the last logical address. However, we have to go through some details first in order to how to configure a router, which will be an important key from your lab task. So we need to do this through the command line interface, and how to do this one? Well, we get a console connection. And from this port, RS232, which is a serial port, we connect from here. We connect onto the router, onto the console port. And over here, we open a terminal. Now, the terminal is supposed to be configured this way. It's set by default. And now you will, it's not this quick in reality, but then you will get an interface, like a command line interface. We're not going to do this one because it's going to take too much time. I'm simply going to remove this connection, and I'll go over here and I click on the CLI, and you see we have exactly the same interface. This will just save you some time. Now, in reality, you would use a program like this. It's called PuTTY, and PuTTY is used for Telnet, RLogin, Secure Shell, and serial connections, and it's still used today for configuring router software, initially configuring. Afterwards, you don't need to use it. So we're going to go no. And we hit enter, and this is what we get. So we have the host name, the name of the device, and we have the prompt. Now, this is an unprivileged prompt. What can we do here? Well, very simply, you type in the question mark, and you get you get all of the commands that you can do as of this moment. So you can ping a device, you can disconnect an existing network connection, so on and so forth, connect maybe to something else, perform a trace route, perform a ping, and so on and so forth. Now, show can show us many things. We have show space and then a question mark. And show can show us a hell of a lot of stuff. First of all, it can show us the clock. And this is hilarious. As you can see, this device is configured to be Monday, March 1st, 1993. Something else that we would like to see is show running configuration. Is this going to show for us? Unfortunately not, because we're not into privileged mode, and we'll see what that means. How do we start configuring things? How do we get more access? Well, very simple. We type in enable, and that's it. Our prompt has changed, as you can see. And now, if I hit question mark, I'm going to get different types of commands. So I have some of the same ones, SSH, Telnet, but there we go, setup, remove directory, reload, make directory, and so on and so forth. If I type in ls, right, so we have different stuff over here. They're not all the same commands, although some might be similar. And in order to change a lot of stuff, we need to type in configure. But the thing is, we can configure multiple things. And in this case, in case of a router, we can configure the terminal, right? So we go over here. Now our prompt has changed, router config, and over here we have, if we hit question mark, we have completely different commands. And we're not going to use all of them. For now, we're just going to use a few. First thing that we would like to change is very simple. Let's change the host name. The host name can be into, let's call it as R1. Simply to make it shorter, we know what an R1 is. It stands for of course, it stands for router 1. Now, if you remember, we connected to this device with a console port. Now, if it just remains like this, open and unprotected, we're going to have a lot of trouble. So we're going to go to that line, console 0. Now we're in the configuration mode for this particular line. Now over here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a password. And let's simply call this password, I don't know, SCUT. Let's just call it Scott. Hit enter. And we're going to type in login. This means it's going to demand for somebody to log in when they connect through a console port, which we will do later. I'll hit exit. Now, if we go back here, if we go out, there we go. So we have the password SCUT. But over here, we're going to type in enable. We get a lot of power. We can mess with this router any way we want, but there is no password here. So we go to configure terminal, and we're going to go enable secret. Now, enable secret or enable password, they do the same thing. So let's see what happens. Enable password, I don't know, SCUT1. Enable secret, SCUT2. And let's see what happens here. Why are they different? Well, if we go to show running configuration and we see our password, SCUT1, is plain text. It's really easy to be seen by someone else. And not just this password. We also have a console password. We have VTY passwords and so on and so forth. And they're very easy to be seen. There we go. So for example, if on this line, there we go. We have this password. This is visible. Over here, we have no password. But if we did, it would be visible. And this is not really good. Most people only use secret. They do not use password. And that's pretty good. But in case if your device is outdated and you only have to do this one, well, there's a solution for that one, and we're going to go back to configure terminal, and we're going to enable a service password encryption. Now, if I go to show running config, you will see that this password is encrypted. However, unfortunately, this is really easy to break because it is very outdated. So this is not recommended to be used. Luckily, all of the other ones are also encrypted. Okay, moving on. Stuff that we want to do. Go back to configure terminal. Banner, message of the day. Once you enter, or before you enter, what should it say? Okay, now we put the message in between two special characters. We can use the hash sign, and this can say sysadmins only, maintenance on Friday, or something like that. We hit enter. Next time we log in, we'll get this message. Right, and one last thing that we like to do is we like to save this configuration. Why? If I go here, and if I press this power, if I do off and on, if I turn it off and turn it on, I come here, this will go back to router, and all of the configuration will be gone. So, how to do this? We can go by simply copy, no, not here, exit. Copy running configuration into the startup configuration. We hit enter. We don't have to change the name. Hit enter. And now we are good. Now let's see what happens. Exit. Go here. Power off and power on. So this is decompressing. And let's see what our host name is going to be. And do we have the message of the day? Okay. Sysadmins only, maintenance on Friday. Okay, this is our console password, which is SCUT. Then we hit enable, and this is SCUT2. Configure terminal, and one last thing that we would like to configure is, as you can see, this link is still red. Well, over here we need to configure networking interfaces, whether it's a serial interface or if it's a fast Ethernet interface. So this is what we're going to do. Interface, fast Ethernet, and this one is 0/0. I'll hit enter. Now we're in the configuration for the interface. First thing that we need to do is add an IP address. So IP address, and the IP address, if you remember from over here, this was is going to be 11, and I'll put 254 as the address for this one. 192.168.1254, which is the last address in this range. Subnet mask should be the same. There we go. And now we need to turn on the networking port. By default, they're turned off. Now, to turn off a port, you type in shutdown. To turn on a port, you type in no shutdown. Hit enter and look over here. And there we go. It immediately fires up. Now, this network is ready to communicate with with itself. Everybody can, so the router can talk to the computers can talk to the router. However, if some of these people wish to access the internet, they need something as a default gateway. Now, the default gateway is the address of the router interface, which is inside the network. So 1, 2, 5, 4. We're going to copy this, and we're going to simply enter the same data on all 3 computers. And we're going to hit save. There we go. We're good to go. One last thing that I would like to add to save you some time. If we go here, and if we go here, and if I just type in hey, it says translating hey domain server, and this will hang for about 20 to 30 seconds, and it's really annoying. So sometimes you need to turn off and turn on and then wait again and go back in. So this is really, really annoying. Now let's turn this one off because it thinks it's a website. So we're going to go here. I'll skip this one. There we go. And I'm just going to enter this command. So no IP domain lookup. And that's it. Now if I exit, I type in hey, and it says unknown command or computer name. And this time we don't have to wait. Okay, this is the end of this lesson. I'll see you in the next one.